What's the weirdest country you know? I'll give you a second. What was that? North Korea? Armenia? Bhutan? Not a single one of you said Turkmenistan. Well, you're in for a shocker. Might I even say that we're about to rock your entire world with this video. I know mine was when I started researching this forgotten nation. Once part of the Soviet Union, Turkmenistan is a country that's so bizarre that it seems like a made-up story. And the fact that most people don't even know about its existence doesn't help either. But in this video, we're about to uncover Turkmenistan and its insane rules and events with zero exaggerations. That's right, whatever you're about to hear is as naked as truth can get. Why is there a gate to hell in this country? Is the dictatorship here worse than North Korea? Why does nobody know what's happening here? Before I get into the thick of it, give us a like and subscribe so you can keep finding shocking videos like this one every once in a while. Where is Turkmenistan? Turkmenistan is a landlocked country located in Central Asia, sharing borders with several other nations. Turkmenistan is bordered by Kazakhstan, while Uzbekistan lies to its north and northeast. To the south, the country shares its border with Iran, and Afghanistan is situated to the southeast. And on the western front is the Caspian Sea, the largest inland body of water in the world. Now let's talk landscapes. Unlike some of its neighbors, Turkmenistan doesn't have such diverse landscapes. In fact, 70% of the land is covered by the Karakum Desert. To put it into some perspective, that's over 350,000 square kilometers of land we're talking about. Perhaps something that the country really is known for by most people is the Gate of Hell. It goes by many other names, including the Darvaza gas crater, Door to Hell, and Shining of Karakum as well. How did this form? Well, in 1971, the Soviets decided to explore gas reserves in the middle of the Karakum Desert. They thought, we think there's a humongous underground cave here, but it'll be fine if we start drilling, right? They started drilling in search of gas, and the result was the collapse of the underground cave, filled with natural gas. And what do you do when you find a big source leaking methane gas? You don't light it on fire, but the Soviets did. And the result was a huge pit, 60 meters in width and 20 meters in depth forming, lit on fire from 1971 till today. Yes, it's still burning right now as you're watching this. So far, pretty normal and kind of funny, right? I bet you're thinking, is there anything important about Turkmenistan? The short answer is yes. Yes, there is. Turkmenistan has the potential to become a global superpower. After all, it's sitting on top of almost 10% of the world's total gas reserves. If anything, the Darvaza crater is proof of the country's insane gas potential. Currently, Turkmenistan has the 6th largest natural gas reserves globally, right after Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Russia. It's said that the country has at least 151 years of gas reserves, but there's no way of being sure of the numbers because information is highly censored. And what does it mean when you have so much gas? You're chased by countries that don't have that many reserves, wanting to be on your good side. For instance, the reason Qatar gets to host FIFA World Cups is because of its gas reserves. And it's the same gas reserves that make Qatar rich, powerful, and influential. But when you look at Turkmenistan, most of its population lives in poverty. For a population of 6.3 million Turkmen, Turkmenistan's gas reserves should make every citizen rich. However, the average household income in the country stands at a measly $350 per month, which isn't enough to cover basic necessities. Why is there such a contrast then? What on earth is going on here? And if Turkmenistan is sitting on top of one of the biggest gas reserves in the world, why aren't people talking about Turkmenistan? The reason that Turkmenistan has managed to become a forgotten nation since its independence is that it wants to be that way. It simply doesn't want to engage in that global power struggle. Before gaining independence, Turkmenistan was part of the Soviet Union and was a supplier of raw materials like oil, natural gas, and cotton for the rest of the Union. And so the Turkmen were relying mostly on economic aid from the USSR. Following the end of the Cold War and the breakup of the Soviet Union, Turkmenistan declared its independence on October 27, 1991. Soon the entire country fell into despair, with unemployment going as high as 60%. And you see this man. He is Saparmurat Niyazov, or Turkmenbashi, as he likes to be called. That stands for Leader of the Turkmen, by the way. Niyazov was the first secretary of the Turkmen Communist Party in the Soviet era from 1985, and was the first president of Turkmenistan since its independence till his death in 2006. It wasn't a democratic decision, and he certainly wasn't the popular choice for the Turkmen. Instead, Niyazov declared himself president for life. But why was Niyazov powerful enough to gain control of the entire country? He had monopolized all the profits that the country made from oil and gas revenues, and when he announced his presidency, Turkmenistan officially entered one of the most whimsical and insane dictatorships ever. Let's run through some of the wildest things this man did as president. For starters, he declared Turkmenistan to be a neutral country on all matters, to the point that the UN actually recognizes Turkmenistan as the only neutral country in the world. He also swiftly led the country into poverty, isolation, and to no freedom of speech. Despite the country meeting international standards of the independent constitution, the system was nothing more than an empty structure. The only law of the country was the word of Niyazov, and he was the main power controlling media, news outlets, and all parliamentary decisions. As crazy as he might seem, Niyazov was a very calculated dictator too. He dismantled the entire education system and destroyed the cultural system to force a single nationalistic and socialist viewpoint. And to say that Niyazov had some cult-like obsessions with himself wouldn't be wrong. During his regime, he had countless golden statues of himself erected throughout the country, especially in the capital city of Ashgabat. He even had one for his dog in the capital city. But one of the more prominent statues is one of himself that would rotate throughout the day, so that Niyazov was always facing the sun, hinting at his approach to a powerful rise of Turkmenistan. He banned beards on anyone younger than 70 years old. Video games, ballet, car radios, and dogs were also banned, because they're not Turkmen culture. But why'd he ban dogs when he was erecting golden statues of his own dog? Well, because every dog except his gave off a bad scent if you passed them by, at least according to Niyazov. The insanity of mind-bending rules doesn't end here. So you have toothache. Well, you'll have to chew chicken bones because Niyazov said so. He changed the word for bread to his mum's name. Doctors had to swear to him instead of Hippocrates. Even the alphabet was changed to a whole new Turkmen alphabet, and the names of the days and months were changed too. And can you guess what the month and day names were changed to? In the year 2002, Niyazov decided that every day of the month and week would be renamed after his family members. Thereby, January was renamed as Turkmenbashi, February as Bayrak after the Turkmen flag, and April as Gurban Sultan after his mother. September was also named after his buck Runama. Speaking of Runama, this one will leave you in a daze. Just bear with me on this one. Now, Niyazov was an insane dictator, we got that, but another thing he was fantastic at was being an emotional poet. This man got so deep in his self-obsessions that he wrote Runama, or the Book of the Soul. The Runama was a spiritual guidance book written by Turkmenbashi himself from 1990 to 2006. The purpose of this book was to give Turkmen the ultimate socialist view and exalt Niyazov as the supreme leader of the Turks. But what did the Runama include? Remember they changed the names of the months and days? Well, that's one of the things in the Runama. This book also condoned the use of playing accordion, having golden teeth were banned, and every other music other than national Turkmen music or the president's own music was not good for the soul. The Runama explained a narrative that Turkmen development began 5,000 years ago, and the country must live separated and isolated from other countries because it was superior. Niyazov also went so far as to say that he was the new Prophet Muhammad, and that Turkmen should be reading the Runama 3 times daily, instead of the Quran, to enter heaven. He made the Runama compulsory in every household and mosque, and implemented them into the school curriculum as well as driving tests. Yes, if you couldn't recite specific verses of the Runama while driving, you'd be failed. If you think the nightmare ends here about the Runama, I have just one more thing. Turkmenbashi enforce the words of Runama in every public place, on walls, plates, and even billboards. You'll find striking quotes from this book everywhere you go, whether it's cities, dams, schools, or public libraries. Enough about the Runama. Despite being such a typically insane dictator, Niyazov was different in one way. He didn't give his dictatorship to his son Murat. Instead, he gave it to his dentist, Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov. I won't go into details about Berdimuhamedov, but I'll give you a brief overview. He took down some of Turkmenbashi's golden statues and returned the calendar and day names to normal. He also brought some serious progress in the economy, at least compared to before. But weird things were going on during his regime too. After tearing Niyazov's statues down, he built his own golden statues riding a horse. The Turkmen didn't have a man to call Turkmenbashi, but they had to call Berdimuhamedov Arkadag, which means the protector. Also, watch this man gift Putin a puppy. Just watch how he has no idea how to hold one. However, the highlight of Berdimuhamedov's regime is related to gas. He's looking to expand his gas exports while ensuring Turkmenistan remains isolated from the outside world, cultures, and innovations. Since Turkmenistan is landlocked, there is only one way to export gas, which is by building pipelines to neighboring countries. And to build these pipelines, Turkmenistan needs more money. Or should I say Berdimuhamedov needs more money. Luckily, he got funds from China to build a pipeline to tend to China's growing gas needs. And how did Berdimuhamedov spend it? He built a grand €2.4 billion airport in Ashgabat, which is the largest airport in Central Asia. And then he spent $5 billion on a macro space for sports championships and building a communist version of Las Vegas with dazzling hotels and entertainment districts. But Berdimuhamedov didn't want to give visas to any tourists, making this a waste of billions of dollars. It's why Turkmenistan is the weirdest and least visited country in the world. And this is the end of our video. If you liked traveling to the strange country of Turkmenistan, make sure you leave a like and subscribe. That way we'll book you a passenger seat on our upcoming video travels. In the meantime, check out this cool video right here.